Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Gaur Premanand. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, 16 through 22. So this chapter is probably the most important chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in my opinion, maybe the opinion of some of you. But here everything is chalked out for someone who wants to take up to the devotional service of Sri Krishna. What did the sages in Suta, for those who want to cross over this insurmountable ocean of nescience? It's either upcoming or it's already been said. And how can we become freed from the clutches of Kali Yuga? And so the answers are here in this chapter, and indications of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his different features, have already been explained here. And one of the conclusions of the chapter is that we should please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh, best of the twice born. It is concluded. This is the conclusion. We should please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how do we do it? Does anybody remember the adjective used to please the personality of Godhead? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. What else? Shushush is today. But with one pointed attention. So our attention shouldn't be diverted anywhere else. And this is what the very beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam establishes, Vyasadeva establishes. Dharmo Kaitavatra, we kick out anything else and only this one pointed attention to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. Ekana manasa, one pointedness. And what are we doing? We're glorifying, we're remembering, we're worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the protector of his devotees. And in this way, that yesterday's verse, I think, I don't know exactly but in this way, we cut those attachments that are keeping us bound to this Kali Yuga mentality, this Kali Yuga force, you could say. And so he ends that with a question: Who would not do this? Who would not do this? Because it's so available. It's a rhetorical question that you ask it, but the answer is evident. That who wouldn't do it? Nobody would. If there was a bag of gold out, who wouldn't be attracted? Everybody would be attracted to it. So this group of verses I've been giving, this is probably, you could give seminars on just these 5 verses, 6 verses for weeks. And so we have a half an hour. Each one of these verses in and of itself is so potent and so much information. So we're going to approach this on 2 levels. We're going to go through the verses in a condensed way, a very condensed way. But then also these verses contain the entire process or stages of devotion. And we'll get into that in the second part of class, of some of those details. Because it can be confused. Are there processes of devotion? Are there stages of devotion? What are they? So kind of take a glimpse into that. And again, just very summarily, because we could spend weeks on it. So let's start first with 16. Let's all just say it together, because I don't think we'll have time to do the... Ready? Shushusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Shanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtani Shevanat. O twice-born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. And then we have a condensed purport. I've just taken some of the main points, again, for time purposes. So we'll just read each page. We'll read, and then we'll see if there's any comment or any questions on that, and then we'll go. So each of the verses that I have up, we have 3 little slides. So we'll start here. The servants of God are to be respected as God by the devotees who actually want to go back to Godhead. So the qualifier is that for those who want to go back to Godhead, there has to be a wanting. There has to be something on our side. It's not that sometimes I don't want to go to school, but I'm on the school bus. I guess I'm going to school. It's not like that. But you have to want to do it. Such servants of God are called Mahatmas or Tirthas, and they preach according to particular time and place. The servants of God urge people to become devotees of the Lord. So there's some urgency. They're urging people to understand that there's some urgency. Because as, again, the concern was from the sages of Naimisharanya, that all the religious qualities are leaving, and what will we do? What is going to happen in this Kali Yuga? And so a devotee, those who are servants of God, they can see that. They can see it happening. And who here, if you would just take a glance at the news, there's no newspapers anymore, but if you took a glance at the news, however you achieve your news these days, is there not an urgency to find something better? I mean, there is relatively no good news these days, at least on the front pages, probably the whole first. Yeah, they have a lifestyle section way in the back of the newspaper. Oh, here's a nice, look at the squirrels playing with okay, there's something there. But generally, there's war, there's fighting, there's quarrel, there's this division and that division, and there's pushing down and shoving around. This is the news of the day. Very little. And this person has died, or that person has died, or this war. It's constant. So there, it is natural, and everybody is feeling, or at least those who are trying to push forward their version of the solution, is that, well, my idealism, my ideals are correct, and if everybody would just do what I say, then it'll all be okay. But every person is just like that. So they're saying, if you just do what I say, and they're saying, if you just do what I say, and then the quarrel, and that's the symptom. That is the real quality of Kali Yuga. We're all really thinking of ourselves. So those who are trying to shake us out of that mentality, they're very special, and not only are they called Mahatseva or Mahatmas, great souls, but they are also Tirthas. That a Tirtha is a place where when you go, you become purified. So if you're in the association of such a person whose real intention is not, I just want to put forward my political opinion or my idealism or whatever. It's not that. I just want everyone to be properly situated in happiness. That person is a Tirtha. And that just by being with him or her, you feel elevated. You feel happiness. Next slide. The servants of God come to propagate God consciousness, and intelligent people should cooperate with them in every respect. Prabhupada because he's looking for cooperation. He's writing this pre-coming to America. He's writing this, and he's not getting a lot of cooperation in India. So, but the servant that we want to propagate Krishna consciousness. So please help them do it. By serving the servant of God, one can please God more than by directly serving the Lord. The Lord is more pleased when he sees that his servants are properly respected, because such servants risk everything for the service of the Lord and are so are very dear to the Lord. Any questions on that? This we hear that Prabhupada oftentimes he would be challenged by a reporter. Oh, why are you coming in Rolls Royce car. Why are you taking all this worship? And he said, this is not for me. I am just a servant. And if you would understand the actual position of God, anyone associated with God, a servant, his entire retinue, it would almost be silly to give them only a Rolls Royce car. You should be given like a golden car, or but we'll take what you got. But it is not for the servant that we are worshiping the servant. It is really for Krishna. And as some of the devotees in the morning we sing, we can't obtain that mercy of Krishna except through that process, through the Mahat Seva, through the devotees. And this will become more clear when we get into the stages. Next one. By serving the servants of the Lord, one gradually gets the quality of such servants. That's important. And thus one becomes qualified to hear the glories of the Lord. The eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. So somehow or other, the highlight did not come through. But I had highlighted that last sentence. Now read that last sentence again and think about it for a moment. And try to remember the eagerness to hear about God is the first qualification of a devotee eligible for entering the kingdom of God. So there's eligibilities, there's processes by which one becomes eligible. And the very first qualification Prabhupada is saying here is this eagerness. So this brings us right perfectly into the next verse. And so remember that last line, and then think about it when you hear the next verse. And we can say this together. Shinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Kridhantasto Yabhadrani Vinoti Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So, did anybody pick it up? You picked it up? Yes. What is the common word from the last sentence of the purport and this verse? The urge, the desire. It's not just, you can't create urgency artificially. Urgency has to come naturally. When you see a fire, automatically you feel there's some urgency needed to apply to this situation. So when we are feeling forlorn and feeling lost in the Kali Yuga-ness of the age, the quarrel and hypocrisy, then we're naturally looking, well, what else is out there? When you get so accustomed to seeing this bad news every day, it is natural for a person who has some depth to themselves that they're going to say, well, what is left? What is next? What is out there? What is the solution to this? At least for me, if I can't find a solution for the world, what is my solution? How will I be happy in such a seemingly unhappy place? So then that creates an urgency. That creates like the search in each and every one of us. And that's why we're all somehow or other ended up in this room today. We're on some sort of a search. Let's go to the condensed purport. Messages of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, are non-different from him. This is the importance of this verse. When we hear about Krishna, when we hear his words, they are non-different. We've had this kind of drilled into us over and over again that Krishna's name is non-different from Krishna. When we say Krishna, Krishna is there. He is dancing on our tongue. It is simply our mind that prevents us from understanding that fully. Mind and other things, but typically we're not conscious even of it when we say Krishna. When the pure devotees, Rupa Goswami and others, when they say, when I chant the name, the two syllables, Krishna, I wish, I don't even have the capability in this useless material body. Because this material, I only was given one tongue. And I wish I had thousands of tongues to taste those two syllables. And only 2 ears? I wish I had millions of ears to hear those two syllables, Krishna. So when I chant Krishna, and when I hear Rupa Goswami's depiction of when he chants Krishna, or Lord Chaitanya's chanting of Krishna, how so far I have to go. What have I done that prevents me from getting there? And we'll get into that. Actually, we'll get into it quite soon. Whenever, therefore, offenseless hearing and glorification are undertaken, it is to be understood that Lord Krishna is present there in the form of transcendental sound, which is as powerful as the Lord personally. So that's my problem. I'm chanting offenselessly. And that's why when I chant Krishna, I'm not thinking, I wish I had. I'm thinking, how many more? And it's a sorry state. Yes, what's your name?
Nate.
Nate. Hare Krishna.
So if you're chanting and you're not fully thinking of Krishna, is he still in the name?
Yes, that is also there, and we'll get into that soon. But for me to appreciate that name fully, that is the thing that's missing, the appreciation. And that appreciation is such an important part of us advancing further and further. So we're chanting, and again, this whole process of devotional service is very scientific. We'll get into the stages and the numbers and the things like that. But yes, thank you. That's a good question. And yes, Krishna is still there. Actually, it's even said, even just the shadow of that name is enough to purify us. To extents that we can't even imagine. So they don't have these anymore, but there used to be things called like Pizza Rama or Laundry Rama, and you think, let's go to the Pizza Rama, and I'm getting some purification. There's some Nam-Bas there. Yes, the microphone.
Mentions there are offenseless hearing and glorification of the Lord. So we are also doing that now, etc. So what? And we know we have those offenses against the holy name. But what dynamics or similar dynamics for this type of hearing and chanting that we're doing now? We know that there are offenses in chanting the holy name of the Lord.
Yes.
Are those the same for us, like we're having now, hearing and chanting glorification?
Yeah, who knows? I mean, I may be here for Pratishtha Jnana, Pratishtha. I may be here for some, I want to get some fame. I'm going to give a great class. And so that's not a pure chanting. And others may be hearing in such a way, he should have sent this instead of that. It's like, you know, so there may be some of this there, but the next verse will clear this up a little bit. But yes, another question.
I'm just curious, what does nescience mean?
Nescience means like ignorance, being ignorant. That's pretty much the basic understanding of nescience.
Do you feel like Krishna is like naturally merciful to people who are ignorant?
He is naturally merciful to everyone.
Nice. Try.
So thank you. Okay, next, we're actually, wow. This is a holiday. There is no Krishna lunch. Do we have a little extra time today?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see the Shruti whip here, so I feel a little more. Let's go to the next one. We have already discussed. So this is referring to the previous verse. We have already discussed developing a taste for hearing and chanting the holy sound. It is done through the medium of service to the pure devotee of the Lord. So that's the Shushushu Shadadamashya. We've discussed that. The Lord is reciprocally respondent to his devotees. When he sees that a devotee is completely sincere in getting admittance to the transcendental service of the Lord and has thus become eager to hear about him, cliffhanger, the Lord acts from within the devotee in such a way that the devotee may easily go back to him. The Lord, so this is quite a powerful sentence, and I think this was also highlighted. The Lord is more anxious to take us back into his kingdom than we can desire. Most of us do not desire at all to go back to Godhead. Only a very few persons want to go back to Godhead, but anyone who desires to go back to Godhead, Sri Krishna helps in all respects. So this is the reciprocation. If we are associating properly with devotees, and those devotees are the Satam or Mahatsevam, if we're getting, as he said, as we associate with the devotees, they are helping us to think about going back to Godhead. And if we do that, and what do the devotees do? What do naturally devotees do? If you just met somebody on the street, what is one of the first things you're going to ask somebody to do as a devotee? Chant Hare Krishna, read this Bhagavad Gita, read this book, hear this. Want them to hear. Why? Because Krishna is in everyone's heart. And if he sees even just a little endeavor, because he is more anxious, we may get it haphazardly. Oh, I got a Bhagavad Gita from a guy named Brihat on the street and something, let me take a look at it. He was so anxious to make that situation happen. Krishna was anxious to make that happen. That somehow or other, this book distributor was able to give this person or this other person told this person to chant Hare Krishna. Something happened there because he was very anxious to get us to look at the word. What is Bhagavad Gita, or what is Krishna? Who is Krishna? When we're saying that, Krishna, we may not be understanding his dancing on the tongue, but he is in the heart and he's hearing us say it. And he's like, oh, finally, this devotee who's been entrapped, this person who's, and he's seeing everyone as devotee, this devotee who's been entrapped in nescience, thank you, what is your name? Nico. That this person who's been entrapped in nescience finally uttered my name. Let me help him. Let me help him. And then more. It will think, oh, let me see what this book is about. Let me go back to these people who told me to chant Hare Krishna and let me find out a little more. That inspiration, that urge, which we said cannot be artificially created, that urge is coming with Krishna's wanting us He is pushing us. He is helping us. It's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. Next. Oh, yeah. So one cannot enter the kingdom of God unless one is perfectly cleared of all sins. So this is quite a heavy. So this is what sometimes we're just starting. Okay, I just chanted my first Hare Krishna. I just opened my first Bhagavad Gita. This is my first Srimad Bhagavatam class. We're just starting. Or even if I've been doing it for 40 years, it's still starting. I cannot enter until I'm fully cleared of the sins. So how is that done? Is explained in this packet of verses, 16 through 21. How that is done is explained there. That's why these are probably some of the most important verses that we could hold on to. Write them down. Put them in your verse book. These are the ones to learn. The material sins are products of our desires to lord it over material nature. It is very difficult. It is Krishna's Maya. Krishna is in control of all of these material elements. He's in control of the modes. And we are just like little playthings in the hands of these modes and these Shakti of Krishna. That we have no control. It's very difficult. It is very difficult. But when one is helped by the Lord himself, and he says, Srinvata Swakata, I'm in the heart, and when I hear that, when I see the person is endeavoring, I help them. I keep helping. I keep creating that urge. And then they're creating an urge that, oh, I'm getting some reciprocation from Krishna. Let me try a little more. And Krishna's saying, oh, this is so wonderful. And he's helping the devotee again create more urge by the divine grace. And so the whole process, this last sentence is just amazing. Prabhupada, when one is held by the Lord himself, the whole process becomes as easy as anything. By the divine grace of the Lord. It's easy as anything. That's kind of like, it's easy as anything. It's like almost like, it is not a problem for Krishna. It is not a problem for Krishna at all. He is Sarva, he knows everything, and he's so powerful, and he can help us in an exact way that we are needing that help. All right, now I'm starting to really get late because I have a lot more. Next one. And everybody, I think you chant this in the beginning. Nasta Bhayeshu Abhadeshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya by regular attendance in the classes of Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee. All this troubles into the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service of the personality of Godhead, His grace and transcendental songs, established and veritable life. So this Srinvata, this Krishna, he's creating an urge, and we are creating an urge. And then what do? We come to a room like this, and we hear Bhagavatam, and we do it as regularly as we can. And when we do that, these things that are these products of Kali Yuga, this nescience, this ignorance that has been covering us, slowly starts to dissipate. Let's go to some of the purport. Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart which are considered to be obstacles in the path of self-realization. The remedy, so this ties right back into verse 16 and then pulls it into 17 and it puts in a nice package in 18. Within the heart, which is the remedy is the association of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavat, Srimad Bhagavatam, or really anything that is we're hearing about Krishna when we hear transcendental knowledge. the book Bhagavata and the devotee Bhagavat. Next. The devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. And this is quite a extraordinary sentence also. Human reason fails to understand how by serving the devotee Bhagavat or the book Bhagavat, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. So why does human reason fail to understand this? Yes.
Because it's really hard to measure.
Yes.
Like you can't put a ruler to it. You can't be like, okay, well, let's create a double-blind experiment on this. Because when you do that, you have to have certain markers. You have to be able to quantify it.
Yeah. It's hard to get the metrics to quantify these things that are happening within each and every one of us, because Paramatma sitting within each and every one of our hearts is reciprocating with each and every one of us in a slightly different way. Not that he's favoring one or the other, but he is reciprocating exactly as we are reciprocating toward him. And so it's hard to see. Yes.
Additionally, because we become part of the experiment. We want the scientific method is to keep everything at arm's length, but you become involved with this, and that is an uncomfortable position for the conditioned living entity. I want to control.
Yeah. So it's quite this Srinvata, this purification in the heart is very difficult to see. Although we actually do see it. We do see what are some of the characteristics of somebody who is becoming purified?
Hare Krishna. I mean, what immediately popped into my mind is something that you can actually see. So actually, devotees become a lot brighter in their face and their eyes, and just like they look more awake and alert than everybody else in the entire world.
There's I don't know where it is, but there's a purport. Prabhupada said that these devotees, they look like people from Vaikuntha. They're bright, exactly the same. The bright face, they're happy. What else? Nicole? No.
So I feel like my senses are being purified since like practicing bhakti, and I feel like what people tell me is that I look bright and I don't know. I just feel like I'm less controlling, of like the outcome. It's like a devotional attitude, like a mood, like to bow down before Krishna,
Yeah, it may not be so caught up. Oh, I see. You used to be so uptight. Now you seem to be a little more. What else? What is your name? Hugo.
Linking it back to what we were speaking about before, how the Mahatmas have compassion. So as the devotee progresses, more compassion comes up, more mercy comes up, naturally a desire that, oh wow, this is so wonderful, I want to share it with others.
Yeah, we stop thinking about ourselves, we start thinking of others in a very wonderful way. Yes, what is your name? Vian? Yeah. Become humble. Okay. Yeah. We start developing the qualities of the demigods. Yasha Devi Prabhaktir.
What I've noticed about people who are becoming purified, Hare Krishna Prabhu, is that they have
each other Mangalartik and Naratra, quite the dancers.
people like these people here who are becoming purified have no problem giving up things that other people are very attached to. That's
what is that verb then? Yeah. Natural detachment. We become naturally. Adisham.
So I think they naturally become, not a thing, but I heard it become naturally pacified, and their suffering reduces. An example, I think, is often given as one takes food, nourishment, and energy simultaneously come.
Yeah, on the 11th canto, by performing devotional service, all things start to, and so we see them, we're naturally, there is some metrics, but that, again, it's still hard for people to believe that how this is happening. And they say, oh, well, you're just becoming happy, or you guys are becoming denialists, or whatever that, you're just, almost too ignorant to even care about the world. But it is actually Krishna. It is Krishna directing this. Next. The more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of the devotees, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The messages of the book Bhagavatat therefore have to be received from the devotee Bhagavat, and the combination of these two Bhagavats will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. Next, I think I have okay, so, boy, we're out of time. So we're just going to go 19. So as soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of nature's mode of passionate ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness, and they become completely happy. Next, 20. Thus established in the mode of goodness, a person whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive, scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. So more and more, this is the progress, this is the process of devotional service, which I'm going to reveal if we have enough time. Text 21. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced, and all misgivings are cut to pieces, and the chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees the self as master. Okay, next one. Processes of devotion. So we've heard so many, when you come in contact with Krishna consciousness and you start spending some time with us, we have a lot of numbers, we have a lot of things that we say, well, this is this and this is that, and it sometimes becomes so I kind of chalked out a few. So these are the processes of devotion, not to be absolutely confused with the stages of devotion, although some of them are mixed. So the processes of devotion are two. There are two types, two lists. One is Panchanga Bhakti. Panchanga Bhakti, Pancha means five. And so these are the five angas or limbs of bhakti, because this is really what this chapter is about establishing. The conclusion is how to develop devotion for Krishna, and devotion for Krishna is called bhakti. So how is this done? So these are the processes. Devotee association, we just heard about that. Shushu Shoshadadanasya. Krishna Seva, service to Krishna, or deity worship. Bhagavat, we just heard that. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, associating with the Bhagavats. Nama, chanting the holy name. And Brajavasi, residing in Vrindavan or Mathura, or a holy place. These are the Panchanga. Then Navanga, next. Navanga Bhakti, we've heard of the 9 processes of devotional service as established by Prahlad Maharaj. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaram, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Nivedanam. So they're here. We're not going to go through, we don't have time, but that's the 9 processes. So those are the different sets of processes. And then we have devotion, stages of devotion. And it's been described that there are 2 stages of devotion. There's 9 stages of devotion, and then there are 14 stages of devotion. So this, now all these numbers are starting to fall in our heads. It's like, whoa, which one is which? All right, so 2. Does anyone have a guess of what the 2 is? 2 stages of devotion. Yes, Nico. Huh? The last stage. The first and last. Very good. What is your name? Kunti. Hare Krishna. Vaidhi and Raganuga. Those are types of practice. But I'm saying the two stages, one activity and then the second activity. You raised your hand. I saw it. It was like, okay. Anyway, it's a trick question because nobody probably, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his purport to the sixth canto, second chapter, text number 9, which is a very famous verse on chanting Hare Krishna. He says there are 2 processes of devotional service, and if you cannot do that, then there are 14. So he said the 2 processes are chanting and then Goloka Vrindavan. Bas, it's all done. So, okay, and it says, well, why do we go to the 14? It's because we're attached. We have offenses. We have, and so, but then the more, you could say the more popular one that we've heard through Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu are the 9. So we go to the 9. We've heard these: Shraddha, Ado, Shraddha, Tata, Sadhu, Sangha, Bhajana, Kriya, and Artha Nivriti. And we won't have time to go through all these either, but they're there. These are, again, to illustrate there are 9 steps. And a very important word that's not here, that is given in this description by Rupa Goswami and Lord Chaitanya, is the word kramana. Kramana means by a gradual process. We are gradually doing it. And I'm about to wrap the next one is the 14. Satam kripa mahatseva shraddha guru padashraya bhajaneshu sriha bhaktira narta bhagamastata nishtaruchira ta shaktirati premata darshanam harer madharyanubhava charta shush chaturjase. So these are the 14, and guess what? These pack of verses that we just studied this morning contain all 14 of them. So this is a purport from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and Prabhupada alludes to this throughout his purports, but it's in great detail is in Burijan's book, Unveiling His Lotus Feet. You could want to get a lot of information, but just very summarily, we will go through these 14. Next one. So the first is Satam Kripa, the mercy of devotees. That is the first thing. We get some mercy of devotees. And that is in the 16th verse that we studied. Then Mahat Seva, if we get some mercy from them, and then even if we just respond kindly to that person, that is a seva, that is a service to that devotee. And that is also in the text 16. So actually this whole first page is all from the first verse we studied. Shraddha, faith. Faith is, again, this is also within Rupa Goswami's verse. All of Rupa Goswami's 9 processes are within Vishwanath's 14. So there's no, he's just adding a few in the beginning, a couple at the end, one in the middle or so. Guru Padashraya, seeking shelter at the Guru's lotus feet, which is within the Bhajana Kriya of that. Next, these are from the verses 17, 18, and 19. Bhajaneshu Spriha is eagerness to worship Krishna. One develops that urge. There's that urge again. This is a stage, and we see that is reciprocal from Krishna himself. And bhakti is devotion, establishing devotion. Anartha bhagamas, disappearance of obstacles. Anartha navritti shat, right? And the other one, we gradually clear the anarthas, our bad qualities. By associate, and then what is that? As we clear, then we become bright-faced, we become free from, other bad qualities in ourselves, and we take on a new appearance. Tatanishta, then steadiness. It's a little different than just faith, but faith with steadiness. I mean, this is unshakable at this point. Ruchir, we develop a taste. Ata Shakti. This is also Ashakti in Rupa's verse, and firm attachment. Next, and the last, this is from verses 20 and 21. Rati, fondness. Prema, devotional love. And so that's where Rupa Goswami ends his with prema, but then Vishwanath adds these. Ata darshanam, with that love, becomes constant darshan of Krishna. Ishtadeva Spuriti, one will see Krishna everywhere, at all times. And then when you are in that, Harir, when you're seeing, when you're in the audience, Krishna Pas, when we were Krishna abducts us, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Krishna Pasha, he takes me right next to him, and then we experience Krishna's sweetness, Harir Madhurya Anubhava. So that's the 14. So there'll be a test. You need to know the 5, the 9, then the 2, the 9, and the 14. You got it? No. Okay. Next one. The conclusion is in text 22. So and this is the conclusion of this pack of verses. Certainly, therefore, since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Krishna with great delight, with great happiness. Great happiness. Because such devotional service is enlivening to the self. So Yeyatma Suprasidati will be repeated a few more times, or has already been repeated in this chapter. Real satisfaction, real happiness is there. Oh, okay, there's one more thing I wanted to share, but I don't know if we have time. Next. So let's just see if we have time. Does anybody have to leave? Okay. Okay. All right. So it may come about that when you hear a class like this, where there's a lot of detail and there's a lot of things we just licked the outer bottle, the plastic covering of the glass bottle of what bhakti is, and we're just barely touching. And so we may think, wow, this is quite overwhelming. Bhakti is quite hard. I don't know if I want to do this, right? We may have that little bit of fear in there, that there's quite a commitment here. Kramana, we have to do this gradually. We have to do it throughout our life. And maybe it'll take me many lives to do this. So we may become a little scared. Well, maybe there's an easier process out there that I could feel. But Prabhupada, during this deity installation from 1969, he makes it very easy to us. And one of the things I wanted to mention on that list is that it is not necessary that we cannot experience different parts of those advancements unless we do it absolutely systematically. Like, all right, let me first figure out this Shraddha thing, and then let me not get a taste for anything else. But we may get little tastes, we may get little bits of portions of some of those other activities we're doing, although it may not be firm, it may not be steady. But still, they are real tastes, and that is Krishna's real reciprocation. And so, Prabhupada is showing that here in this little talk, which may also bring out some emotion in you, just as the hearers. And don't be afraid. If you feel a little emotion, express it. It's okay. Because that is what the process of devotion is to do, to create this emotional attachment to Krishna. And when we see this delivered by the Mahat Seva, by the Mahatma, by Srila Prabhupada, we cannot help but get enlivened by it. So let me cue this up. And when you hear his words, especially, when you hear his tone, and you hear his emotion, by him saying how simple bhakti is. We just heard all these, wow, it seems quite difficult to achieve bhakti. But Prabhupada makes it so simple in these words. Don't turn it yet. Oh, I gotta find. Technology is very difficult sometimes. Okay. Make sure the volume is nice and high.
Elevate yourself to higher platform of Krishna consciousness, then this Krishna will talk with you. This Krishna will talk with you. There is a Banshidas Babaji Maharaj. He was talking with his deity. Krishna, just like Madan Mohan. He was talking with Sanatana Goswami. Madan Mohan, Sanatana Goswami at that time had no temple. He was hanging his deity on the tree. So Madan Mohan was talking with him, Sanatana, you are bringing all these dry chapatis and it is stale and you don't give me even little salt. How can I eat? Sanatana Goswami says, sir, where shall I go? Whatever I get, I offer you. You kindly accept. I cannot move, old man. So Krishna had to eat that. Because the bhakta is offering, he cannot refuse. Jimam bhaktya prajit. The real thing is bhakti. What you can offer to Krishna, everything belongs to Krishna. What you have got? What is your value? And what is the value of your things? It is nothing. Therefore, the real thing is bhaktya. Real thing is your feeling. Krishna, kindly take it. I have no qualification. I am most rotten fallen. But I have brought this thing for you. Please take. This will be accepted. Don't be perturbed. Always be careful. You are dealing with Krishna. That is my request. Thank you very much.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. So I'll say that sometimes we have to hear from the Mahat Sevan, we have to hear from the pure devotee these things. Because if we say, if I would tell you, oh, when you offer, just say, I have brought this thing for you. Just please accept it. We may be, so no, you have to say this mantra, you have to do this and this. But this is really what our offering should encompass. It should have this. It may have the mantra, and it may have the bell, and it may have the purification, all these things. That's good for us. There's things to help us in our paths with the Archana path. But this simplicity, this is what we cannot, we should not allow ourselves to forget this simplicity of our relationship with Krishna, that I have brought this for you, Krishna. Please accept it. Such is, and Prabhupada is, what is he thinking of when he's saying this? We don't know. Maybe he's thinking, I've brought these Westerners to you, Krishna. Please accept them. You know, who are we to take up the process of devotional service? But when Prabhupada is offering us to Krishna, he's offering us like that. Please accept them. This is exactly what he did in Australia. When he established a deity, the devotees were not ready. And he prayed to Radha Gopinath. He said, Dear Radha Gopinath, I'm leaving you in the land of the mlechas, of those who have no good, cleanly activities in their life. They're not. Please, just accept. He's asking Krishna. As he mentioned in the beginning, Vamsidas Babaji was able to speak with the deity. Sanatana Goswami is speaking with the deity. Srila Prabhupada is speaking with its deities. And he's asking them to accept us. And I always remember that this last line, because being engaged in Archanam, deity worship, through a good portion of my temple life, I remember this last line was always used as like a very heavy comment to us. Just, Prabhupada said, be careful because you're dealing with Krishna. But we didn't get that from what we just heard. We got it filled with love. And remember, we're dealing with Krishna. When we approach somebody, we want to give them something. You don't just say, here, take it. It's like, oh, here, would you like this? Would you like this? And so there's that. And so this, anyway, this doesn't really align exactly with the class, but I heard it a number of months ago, and I said, wow, I wanna share this one, because it was quite moving. And it is really what bhakti is all about. If that's what this pack of verses, 16 through 22, is telling us about bhakti and how to perform bhakti, this is the key to do it with real love and real feeling and real emotion. Not just, well, what stage am I at? Am I at this one yet? Maybe not. No, maybe I better do a little more of that. No, just, Krishna, please accept me. Thank you very much. Wow. I don't think I've ever gone this late, but yes, Nico. Okay, we are out of time. See, I knew I would find that time. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
स्वल्पपुण्यवतां राजान् विश्वासमेव जायते